At least one of the terrorists in last week's Paris attacks pretended to be a Syrian refugee entering Europe. With that in mind, the House approved a bill yesterday that would ramp up screenings, effectively halting an effort to take in 10,000 Syrian refugees fleeing civil war. The vote was largely along party lines, with 47 Democrats joining Republicans to approve the legislation. Congressman Scott Peters from the 52nd District in San Diego County was one of the 47 Democrats backing the bill called the American Safe Act. He joins me now with Yasser Al-Sayed. Congressman Peters, refugees coming into the United States currently undergo what's described as a very exhaustive 21-step screening process that includes checks with international intelligence agencies to ensure that they don't pose a national security threat. What additional level of screening would the American Safe Act provide?
It's really important to pay attention to what the bill actually says, because I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding about it. But what it adds is a certification at the end of that process. It doesn't change the process. That says, on behalf of 3 government officials, that the person coming through that process does not pose a threat to national security.
So the knock on this bill, though, is that there isn't extra funding for this certification and that it would create huge bottlenecks. And so, in the words of one congresswoman, this is, in effect, a fix-it, slap this message to the public to make them believe that Congress is actually doing something. What's your response?
Well, the premise of your question is that there's a lot of work that goes into these certifications. I just don't buy that, Amita. We had the president's team brief us yesterday, and we asked them why this couldn't be just a certification that the person's gone through the process, but saying to the people where these admitted refugees will be located, this person is safe to come into your community and you should welcome them. And they came up with no reason why we could understand that it was that much work, extra work. So we thought, in an effort to facilitate the relocation of people and to deal with the real fear that's out there, it would be great if the government would stand behind this process and give that certification. We didn't think it was that much of a burden.
Yeah, so it's unlikely that this bill will ever go to the Senate or ever go to President Obama if it were to pass the Senate. And he has said that he would veto such a bill. But if there weren't these ifs, and if 10,000 refugees were barred from coming into the United States, what would be the effect on these refugees?
So you want to remember, of course, all the politicians in Washington getting busy with the misunderstanding, mismessaging, and really, as you said, like showing people that they're doing something about certain issues. What we're forgetting actually that these refugees has been waiting in the camps usually for 2, 3, 4 years to get a chance to live somewhere. We're not talking about, especially in the United States of America, we're not talking about refugees coming from the boats or the sea. These are people already in refugee camps that being processed in the United Nations, that taken numbers before. So they have all these 24 months of due process to come to the United States, which is very rigorous. And I think by having the message that they're not going to come here will be a very, very setback for them.
But I mean, I have to say, the bill does not do that. It does not prevent 10,000 people from coming. If I thought it did that, I would have voted against it. What the certifications do is they just, at the end of the process, say these people have been through the process. I mean, in one...
But you do understand that House Speaker Ryan has said that it places a pause. President Obama says that it would effectively halt the program. But I want to ask Yasser very quickly. Yeah. Democratic presidential candidate calls this bill, or Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton calls this bill anti-Muslim. Do you agree?
Absolutely disagree, because it's, again, the misunderstanding that happened from this bill served both sides in the politician arena to serve themselves and their votes, and forgetting about the real issue and the humanitarian issue we have here.
So 97% of the refugees coming from Syria are seniors, women with young children.
And the elderly.
And so seniors, right. So 3%, though, are considered to be military-aged men. Why not have a bill like this target only those men?
Yeah, but that's why I say that the certification is just not an issue, because how easy would it be to certify 5-year-olds and older men and women who pose no risk? So that's why I think that the burden has been way overstated. I think it would be constructive for the government to say to communities that are taking these refugees, and we want to support the president's 10,000 refugees and maybe more, these people are safe in your community.
One last question. What are you hearing from your constituents on this issue?
It's very emotional on both sides, I think, as Hamid, as Yasser implied, because what's happened in France is just up the ante, and people are very upset. So I think this is actually a constructive approach to say, these people have gone through a very rigorous process, the most rigorous with biometrics and everything else. Let's certify to these communities that they're safe in your neighborhoods. It would be constructive and would help the resettlement, I think.
Okay, we're going to close it there.
Thanks.
Congressman Peters, Yasser, thanks so much for coming on the program.